In question 1d, we start off with a trinomial, and there's a common factor that can be factored out of this trinomial. A common factor 2 can be factored out of each one, so we'll get 6x squared minus 19x plus 15. That's my first round of factorization, so all I did is I took out the greatest common factor. That should be our first check always. Sometimes there's nothing there, and you just move on to your next round of factoring. Well, trinomials, if factorable, will factor into two binomials, so now I have to at least attempt to factor that trinomial into two binomials. So when this was something other than 1, we had a technique where we would take the 6 times the 15, and 6 times 15 equals 90, and we're going to work off the factors of 90 that will add up to negative 19. So we need to generate factors of 90, and the two factors that are good here are 9 times 10, or 10 times 9. If these are both negative, when I multiply negative times negative, it's a positive 190, and then when I add them together, I get a negative 19. That's the method or the technique and strategy that we've applied to these. So I'm going to carry out that strategy. We got a 6x squared. What we're doing is we're breaking up this negative 19x into a negative 10x and a negative 9x plus 15. And now we're going to factor by grouping. So I'm going to use a different color here. I want to group the first two, then I want to group the second two. And remember, we always want this to be positive in between, so I'm going to go plus, and put a negative 9x plus 15 in parentheses. So now I'm going to keep my 2. That's part of my factorization. I'm just going to use a square bracket so it's easier to see. And I'm going to factor something out of a 6x squared and a 10x. Well, that something's going to be a 2 factors out of both of them and an x. If I factor out a 2x, I'll be left with a 3x and a minus 5. On the next one, we'll have, well, I got to make sure I pull out a negative because I want this factor of 3x to match this factor here. Out of a 9 and a 15, we can factor out a 3 for sure, but I'm going to pull out a negative 3 or factor out a negative 3. So what I end up with, if I take a negative 9x divided by negative 3, I got a positive 3x. If I take a negative 3 out of a positive 15, it's a negative 5. And that's part of what we've been used to seeing, that these two factors should be identical in that factoring by grouping method. Okay, so we got our 2 that stays out in front. Then we're going to factor out our 3x minus 5 out of the common binomials that we have. So 3x minus 5, and what's left is our 2x minus 3. That is a complete factorization for 1d.